The great lecture hall of Zorath Prime was filled with light and sound. Hundreds of alien students sat in rows, their glowing eyes fixed on the tall figure at the center stage. Professor Zeltor was one of the most respected astronomers in the galaxy. His head shimmered with silver scales, and his long arms moved in graceful patterns as he spoke. The topic of today's lecture was about primitive civilizations and their limited knowledge of the cosmos. Behind him, a large hologram showed a rotating image of a small blue planet, Earth. Zeltor looked at the image and gave a soft laugh. "This," he said in a deep voice, "is the human homeworld, a species that believes they understand the stars." The class chuckled, their laughter echoing in the metal hall. "Humans," he continued, "once thought the universe revolved around their planet. Even now, their knowledge of astronomy is a child's game compared to ours." The aliens found it amusing. Some whispered jokes, others projected memes of ancient human drawings of constellations. But one figure in the back row did not laugh. She sat quietly, wearing a translator earpiece and a simple dark coat. Her name was Dr. Amelia Hayes, a human scientist who had been invited as a guest observer by the Galactic Education Exchange Program. The invitation was supposed to be an honor, but as she listened to the ridicule, she felt more like an animal on display. Zeltor noticed a silence. His narrow eyes glowed faintly. "Ah, the human guest," he said. "Perhaps you would like to share your perspective." The room turned to her, a mix of amusement and curiosity in every gaze. Amelia stood slowly. Her heart was calm, her voice steady. "Professor," she said, "humans have learned much from observing the stars. Maybe not as much as your kind, but we are learning faster than you think." The aliens laughed again. Zeltor raised a long hand to quiet them. "Very well, human. Tell us," he said mockingly. "Can your kind even map a single galaxy correctly? Or do you still draw stars as dots on paper?" Amelia smiled faintly. "We use data," she replied, "and understanding. Sometimes, both are more powerful than machines." Zeltor tilted his head. Her confidence was unexpected. He waved his hand, and the hologram changed. A vast star map appeared, glowing with thousands of bright points. "Then let us see," he said. "This is the Zorathian Spiral, a region your species has never explored. Can you identify the gravitational core of this cluster?" The aliens leaned forward. They knew it was a trick. Even most alien students struggled with this problem. Amelia stepped closer to the hologram. She studied it silently for a moment. Her fingers moved through the light as she adjusted the map, rotating it slowly. "Your reference axis is wrong," she murmured. The students blinked, confused. "What did you say?" Zeltor demanded. "The axis," Amelia repeated. "You're mapping by visible mass, not gravitational balance. If you shift the focal point by 0.23 light-years," she paused and tapped the hologram. Instantly, the map realigned itself, revealing a hidden pattern, one that matched the exact gravitational curves of the system. The room went silent. Even Zeltor froze. "That correction is accurate," one student whispered. Another checked their device and nodded in disbelief. She found the core. Zeltor's smile faded. "Impossible," he said softly. "No human should know this data." Amelia shrugged lightly. "We don't need to see everything to understand it," she said. "Sometimes, it's about what we feel the universe is doing." The professor's expression hardened. "Are you suggesting intuition can surpass galactic science?" Amelia looked up at him. "I'm saying sometimes the heart sees what the numbers miss." For a moment, there was only silence. The aliens stared at her as if she had spoken magic. Then the whispering began. She guessed. She hacked the system. "It's a trick." Zeltor straightened his robe. "We will test this," he said firmly. "You will join tomorrow's advanced observation session. If your human insight can survive real data, we shall see." Amelia nodded calmly. "I'll be there," she said. As she turned to leave, the lights of the hall flickered faintly, reacting to the station's orbit. She stopped and glanced at the hologram one last time. For just a second, she noticed something the aliens had missed, another pattern, deeper and older than the stars themselves. A faint symbol hidden in the map's gravity lines. It looked almost human. She said nothing and walked out quietly. The alien students watched her go, half amused, half uneasy. When the door closed, Zeltor stared at the hologram again. The correction she made still hovered in glowing lines. His eyes narrowed. How did she know that? He muttered. Deep in his mind, a strange doubt began to form. The kind of doubt that could shake an entire civilization's pride. The next day, the halls of Zoraf Prime buzzed with whispers. Everyone had heard about the human who corrected the professor's star map. Some said it was a trick. Others said the human had stolen alien data. Whatever the truth was, everyone wanted to see what would happen next. The main observatory dome opened wide to the dark sky, showing millions of stars like silver dust spread across the void. Students from many worlds filled the seats, waiting for the event to begin. Professor Zeltor stood near the giant holographic sphere that showed live data from deep space. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with silent pride. He had prepared for this moment carefully. He wanted to prove that humans were still children in the science of the stars. When Amelia Hayes entered, every eye turned toward her. She walked slowly but without fear. Her earth-made coat looked simple beside the shining clothes of the alien scholars. Some aliens whispered as she passed, their voices low but sharp. The human who plays with numbers, one said. Let's see her fail, said another. Amelia ignored them. She stepped onto the center platform, standing opposite Professor Zeltor. The A between them shimmered with energy from the star map projector. Welcome, Dr. Hayes, said Zeltor. I trust you are ready for today's challenge. Amelia nodded. As ready as I need to be, she replied. Good, said the professor. He gestured, and the hologram changed. A new star cluster appeared, huge, chaotic, filled with glowing storms of gas and light. This, he said, is the Veil Cluster, one of the most complex regions known. Even our best models cannot map its gravitational balance. If your human methods are as strong as you claim, show us where its hidden axis lies. The crowd leaned forward. Amelia studied the map. The hologram spun slowly, showing tangled lines of gravity, radiation, and motion. It looked impossible to understand. She could feel the professor's eyes on her, waiting for her to fail. But Amelia was calm. She had seen complexity before. On Earth, she had spent years working with data from deep space telescopes, looking for order in chaos. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The alien students murmured. She's not even looking, one said. Is this meditation? Ridiculous, another laughed. Amelia ignored them. In her mind, she imagined herself floating in space, surrounded by the glowing lights of stars. Slowly, patterns began to appear. She opened her eyes and reached toward the hologram. You're mapping by energy radiation, not by spatial gravity, she said softly. That's why your axis is unstable. The professor frowned. Explain. The core isn't where the light is, Amelia said. It's where the motion stops. She adjusted the projection slightly. The hologram shifted, and suddenly the tangled chaos resolved into a beautiful spiral shape. The data lines aligned perfectly, forming a stable pattern that none of the aliens had ever seen before. Gasps filled the dome. That's correct, whispered one student. Her axis prediction matches the new data scans. That's not possible, another said. Only the Galactic Council computers could predict that. Zeltor's jaw tightened. What algorithm did you use? He demanded. Amelia looked at him calmly. No algorithm, she said. Just logic and a little human intuition. The professor's voice rose. Intuition is not science. Maybe not, said Amelia. But sometimes it helps science move forward. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence in the hall was heavy. Everyone waited to see what Zeltor would do. Finally, he said, you may have guessed correctly once, perhaps even twice. But let us test your knowledge on something truly beyond your reach. He waved his hand, and a new image appeared. An unknown system with unstable energy signatures and shifting coordinates. These are restricted data points, he said. Even I have not yet solved their pattern. Find their origin, if you can. Amelia stared at the projection. The system looked strange, like it was alive. The stars pulsed and flickered in ways that didn't match any normal gravitational rhythm. The alien students leaned forward again, whispering that this would be the moment the human finally failed. But Amelia did not move for a long time. Her eyes traced the pulsing lights. Then, quietly, she said, This isn't a system. The professor blinked. What? These aren't stars, Amelia said. They are signals. The dome went silent. Zeltor looked back at the data. The lights blinked in a pattern, short and long pulses, repeating at perfect intervals. Morse code, Amelia whispered. It's a human pattern. The professor's scales shifted color in disbelief. Impossible, he said. This data was collected from the edge of the galaxy. No human has ever been there. Maybe not, Amelia said, but something human has. The room exploded in noise. Students shouted questions, their voices overlapping. Is she saying humans left signals out there? A pre-space civilization couldn't do that. Zeltor silenced them with a gesture. His voice was cold. Dr. Hayes, you are implying that humanity has touched regions far beyond your current technology. Such a claim requires proof. Amelia looked at him steadily. Then follow the signal, she said. It's coming from somewhere your charts forgot to look. The hologram shifted again as the system's coordinates stabilized, leading to an unmarked region of deep space. The signal grew stronger, clearer. 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dots. SOS. Amelia whispered. Someone, or something, is calling from there. The dome filled with stunned silence. Even Zeltor didn't move. His pride warred with curiosity, but he could not deny what he saw. Very well, he said at last. Tomorrow, we investigate this anomaly. If you are wrong, human, your reputation will burn. But if you are right, he stopped. Amelia met his gaze. Then maybe, she said softly, you'll see humans differently. As she walked out of the hall, whispers followed her again, but this time, they were not full of mockery. They were filled with fear and fascination. The night sky above Zorath Prime shimmered like liquid glass as the Galactic Observatory prepared for the new test. Word had spread across the university and beyond. A human had challenged one of the greatest alien minds in the galaxy. And somehow, she was winning. Crowds gathered outside the dome, watching the live broadcast through holographic screens. Inside, the lights dimmed and the star map activated once more. Professor Zeltor stood tall at the center, his silver-scaled face calm but tight with silent anger. His students surrounded him, eager to witness their professor restore his reputation. Dr. Amelia Hayes entered quietly. She carried nothing but a small data pad, its screen blank. Yet her presence drew attention like a spark in darkness. Zeltor's eyes narrowed. You return, he said coldly, ready to prove your illusion false. Amelia looked around at the glowing domes and alien eyes fixed on her. I'm not here to prove anything, she said softly. I'm here to learn. Maybe teach a little, too. A low murmur passed through the students. Zeltor turned to the central console. Today, he announced, we examined the anomaly discovered yesterday, the signal at the edge of our galaxy. This data was captured by our deepest probes. It should not exist. No human, no known species, could have sent it. The hologram burst to life, showing the same blinking lights Amelia had recognized before. Morse code, she whispered again. A human pattern. You claim it is Morse code, Zeltor said sharply. Then show us what it means. Amelia stepped forward. She began to decode the pulses one by one. Dot, dot, dot. Dash, dash, dash. Dot, dot, dot. SOS, she said. A distress signal. Zeltor frowned. From the farthest edge of the galaxy. Impossible. Humans cannot travel beyond their solar system. Amelia's eyes didn't leave the hologram. Maybe not humans, she said, but something human-made. She adjusted the data feed. The hologram expanded, zooming out until the entire region came into view. There, buried deep in the radiation waves, was a faint structure, something metallic, spinning slowly in the void. The alien crowd gasped. Zeltor leaned closer. A ship. A probe, Amelia said. Old. Maybe centuries. But it's still transmitting. The hologram sharpened, revealing markings on the metal surface, burned and damaged, but recognizable. The letters EARTH3. The room went silent. Zeltor's voice trembled. How could this be? Amelia looked at him calmly. Humanity has been sending probes into space for centuries. Maybe one made it farther than you thought. Zeltor shook his head slowly. Even so, it cannot explain the accuracy of your coordinates. How did you find this exact signal, human? Our own instruments barely detected it. Amelia hesitated for a moment. Because I saw the pattern, she said. It wasn't random. It was like something wanted to be found. Zeltor's eyes flickered with suspicion. Something wanted to be found. Yes, Amelia said. And maybe it's not just a signal. Maybe it's a message. The hologram changed again as she input new filters. The blinking lights rearranged into a strange design, lines crossing over each other, forming a map. A map not of space as the aliens knew it, but of something deeper, older. The shape glowed with soft light, forming a spiral similar to their own galaxy, but slightly different, rotated, reversed, as if reflected in a mirror. The crowd whispered, "Is that another galaxy? A hidden system?" "No," Amelia said quietly. "It's a correction." Zeltor turned sharply. "A what?" "Your galactic map," Amelia explained, "is slightly off. Your instrument's red light speed the same in all directions, but there's a micro difference near the edges. You missed the curve." She adjusted the projection again. The entire map shifted a few degrees, aligning perfectly with the faint signal trails coming from the probe. Suddenly, the hologram stabilized. The new configuration revealed dozens of star systems previously invisible. "By the stars," whispered one of the alien assistants. She just expanded the chart by 10%. Zeltor's voice broke. "That cannot be. This map, it contradicts centuries of data." Amelia looked at him gently. "Maybe your data was right, but your reference frame was wrong." The professor's scales darkened with frustration. "Are you saying humans have better astronomy than the Zorath Collective?" Amelia shook her head. "No, I'm saying sometimes fresh eyes see what pride hides." The words cut deep. The audience went completely silent. Even the machines in the observatory hummed more quietly, as if the air itself was listening. Zeltor's mind raced. Every number, every theory he had ever taught now felt unstable. How could a single human from a young, primitive world correct the work of 1,000 generations? Finally, he said, "This discovery must be verified by the Council." "Of course," Amelia replied. "Truth doesn't fear proof." He stared at her, torn between respect and anger. "You are dangerous, human. Not because of your knowledge, but because you make others question theirs." Amelia didn't answer. Her gaze stayed on the hologram, where the mirrored galaxy still shimmered faintly. "There's more," she whispered. "The signal's still sending something. Look." The code repeated, but now new pulses appeared. Longer, slower, deeper. They formed words in ancient binary language. Zeltor translated aloud, voice trembling. "To those who listen, we are waiting." The lights of the observatory dimmed as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Amelia whispered, "It's not just a probe calling for help, it's something alive." Zeltor turned sharply. "Alive?" "Yes," Amelia said quietly. "And it remembers us." The alien student stared at her in fear and fascination. What could be waiting at the edge of the galaxy, sending human code across the stars? Zeltor's mind filled with dread. For the first time in his long career, he wasn't sure if he wanted to know the answer. The next day, the Galactic Observatory was silent like a temple before a storm. No one laughed anymore. No one joked about the human visitor. The entire research division had received the signal from the edge of the galaxy, and every reading confirmed it was real. The message, "We are waiting," echoed through every scientist's mind. Professor Zeltor had not slept. He had spent the night running scans, comparing wavelengths, checking every formula. Yet every time he finished, the results remained the same. The signal followed human coding, human rhythm, human intent. But that was impossible. When Amelia Hayes arrived at the dome that morning, she found Zeltor already standing by the control desk, his hands trembling slightly over the console. The alien students watched her with a mix of awe and fear. She looked calm, her eyes bright with curiosity. "You came," the professor said quietly. "You think I wouldn't?" Amelia asked. "I thought you might hide," Zeltor said. "Humans are known for running when they face the unknown." Amelia smiled faintly. "Maybe once. Not anymore." The professor turned toward the holographic sphere. Very well, he said. If you wish to claim your kind understands the stars, then let us see how deep your knowledge goes. We will observe the anomaly directly. A murmur ran through the students. You mean to open a live observation gate? One whispered. That region is unstable. Zeltor ignored them. Begin calibration, he ordered. The lights dimmed, and the dome ceiling split open. Beyond it, the universe stretched endlessly, black, vast, and glittering. The station's massive sensors focused on the coordinates of the signal. Energy pulsed through the air, filling the whole with a faint vibration. Amelia felt her heartbeat sync with the rhythm of the waves. We're receiving visual, an assistant called out. The hologram flickered to life, showing the edge of the known galaxy, an endless dark sea of dust and frozen light. Then, out of the shadows, something moved. A structure appeared, half buried in cosmic clouds, enormous and silent. It looked old, older than anything built by known species. Its surface was rough and metallic, marked with patterns that shimmered like language. Magnify, Zeltor commanded. The image zoomed in. Everyone stared in disbelief. Across the side of the structure were faint carvings, letters written in ancient English. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. Project Hope, she whispered. Zeltor turned sharply. You know this. It's a name, she said softly. A myth from early space history. A ship that vanished before humans even left their solar system. It was said to be humanity's first attempt to reach beyond the stars. Nonsense, Zeltor said. No primitive craft could survive this far. But the data did not lie. The structure matched human materials, human design. It had traveled for centuries, longer than most civilizations existed, and still sent signals. It's not dead, Amelia said. It's waiting. The professor frowned. Waiting for what? For someone to find it, she said. The observatory fell silent again. The faint sound of the signal continued to pulse through the speakers. Slow, steady, patient. Amelia stepped closer to the console. Professor, she said, if we can align the observatory's phase sensors, we might read the data core of that ship. We can find out what happened to it. You would open a live channel to that. Zeltor asked, voice rising. You have no idea what energy lies there. Then test me, Amelia said. You wanted proof. Let's find it together. Zeltor hesitated. His pride told him to refuse, but curiosity burned stronger. He finally nodded. Very well. Activate the link. The assistants obeyed. Energy surged through the dome, and the hologram brightened until it filled the air like sunlight. The signal's pulse quickened. The translation screen flickered with new symbols. Amelia's eyes widened as the words appeared. Coordinates received. The message read. Door opening. Door. Zeltor repeated. Suddenly, the hologram expanded. The structure in the image glowed with light, and a circular pattern opened at its center like an awakening eye. A burst of energy shot through the observatory, making the instrument scream with overload. Shut it down, shouted one of the students. The energy output is rising beyond safety limits. Amelia gripped the console. No. Keep it open. It's communicating. The pulse slowed again. A new line of text appeared on the translation feed. Human origin confirmed. Awaiting command. Amelia's voice shook. It recognizes us. Zeltor's eyes widened. That thing is following your signal. It's reacting to you. Amelia looked at him, her voice calm but filled with awe. Because it's part of us. A memory of who we were before anyone noticed us. The energy began to stabilize. The glowing circle in the structure pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. For a moment, everyone stared in silence, realizing they were looking at something ancient, something alive in a way they couldn't explain. Zeltor whispered, "What kind of species builds a machine that waits centuries for a signal?" Amelia smiled faintly. The kind that never stops looking up. The professor felt something he hadn't felt in decades, respect. But behind it, fear grew. If your people made this human, he said, then what else have they hidden in the dark? Amelia looked back at the glowing map. Maybe it's not what we hid, she said softly. Maybe it's what we forgot. Suddenly, alarms blared. The data feed spiked. The energy from the signal jumped beyond any known measurement. The structure was changing, unfolding, as if awakening from sleep. Amelia's heart pounded. The translation feed blinked again. "We are ready," it said. "Begin return sequence." The dome filled with light so bright it erased shadows. Every alien shielded their eyes. When the glow faded, the signal was gone. The structure disappeared from the hologram. Amelia stared at the empty map. Zeltor's voice trembled. "What just happened?" "It moved," she said quietly. "But where?" "Not where," Amelia said. "To us." The observatory was in chaos. Alarms still flashed red, screens flickered with static, and the air smelled faintly of burned circuits. Everyone was shouting, technicians, students, even senior researchers. But Dr. Amelia Hayes stood in the middle of it all, silent and still. Her eyes were fixed on the hologram where, only moments ago, the ancient human probe had been. Now there was only darkness and static. Professor Zeltor stormed toward her, his scale shifting to a harsh metallic blue, the color of frustration and fear. "What did you do?" he shouted. That energy burst could have destroyed the entire dome. Amelia turned slowly to face him. "I didn't do anything," she said quietly. "It responded to us. To me." "Don't speak riddles," Zeltor snapped. "Machines do not respond to emotion. They follow commands." Amelia tilted her head. Then maybe it wasn't just a machine. The words hung heavy in the air. The professor stopped mid-step. "What are you saying?" he asked cautiously. Amelia looked up at the flickering hologram. That probe, it didn't just receive a signal. It recognized one. Something human. Maybe our code wasn't calling it. Maybe it was calling us. The alien students exchanged nervous glances. One whispered, "That's impossible. A machine can't think like that." Amelia smiled faintly. "Not if you build it with logic alone," she said. "But humans build with hope too." The room fell silent. For a long time, no one spoke. The lights from the galaxy projection reflected in Amelia's eyes, giving her an almost otherworldly glow. Zeltor folded his arms tightly. "Hope," he repeated slowly, as if testing the word. "You believe hope has scientific value?" Amelia looked back at him. "Hope made us reach the stars. It's not science, but it drives science forward. When we don't know something, we don't stop. We wonder. We imagine. We dream until we find it." Zeltor stared at her, his expression unreadable. For most of his life, he had believed the universe was a puzzle made only of facts, numbers, and perfect logic. Yet this human spoke as if emotion itself was a kind of knowledge. "Dreams," he said with quiet disbelief. "You base your progress on dreams." "Yes," Amelia said softly, "because dreams make us brave enough to explore the impossible." The professor turned away, pacing. The crowd remained silent, watching the strange conversation unfold. "Your words are dangerous," Zeltor said finally. "If emotion can shape science, then chaos can shape truth." "Maybe truth needs a little chaos," Amelia said. "That's how discovery happens." Zeltor glared at her, but inside, he felt a small crack forming in his pride. He could not deny what he had seen. The human had done something no alien mind could explain. She had reached through logic and touched something deeper. Still, his voice hardened again. "You speak beautifully, human, but beauty is not evidence. We will find proof." "Proof of what?" Amelia asked. "That your kind is more than an accident of evolution," he said coldly. "If this probe truly carries human design, we will verify it through your brain patterns, your thought process, your intuition, as you call it." "You want to study me," Amelia said flatly. "Observe," he corrected. "We need to understand how a species with such primitive technology could predict cosmic behavior with nothing but instinct." Amelia met his gaze without fear. "If you want to understand humans," she said, "you'll need more than machines." The professor's eyes narrowed. "We'll see." Hours later, the laboratory was silent again. Amelia sat alone inside a transparent observation chamber, a dozen sensors attached to her temples. Around her, the alien scientists recorded brainwave activity, scanning her every thought as she studied a live holographic feed of distant stars. Zeltor watched from behind the glass, his face unreadable. "Her neural activity is strange," one assistant murmured. "Patterns are irregular but efficient. She's predicting gravitational waves before our computers register them. Zeltor leaned closer. How? We don't know, the assistant whispered. It's almost as if her brain feels the rhythm. Feels? Zeltor repeated. Yes, said the assistant. She doesn't calculate. She responds. Inside the chamber, Amelia opened her eyes. She could feel the weight of their observation but didn't care. The stars on the hologram called to her like distant memories. She whispered softly, "Show me where you are." The hologram flickered, and suddenly one of the distant systems glowed brighter than the others. The machines beeped wildly, detecting a new energy source matching the lost probe signal. Amelia smiled faintly. "Found you," she said. Outside the chamber, the scientists gasped. Zeltor slammed his hand on the console. "That's impossible. The signal vanished hours ago." "It didn't vanish," Amelia said through the intercom. "It moved closer." The hologram zoomed automatically. The signal source was no longer at the galaxy's edge. It was now near the outer rim of Zorath space. Zeltor felt his blood run cold. How could it travel that far in such little time? Amelia stood and removed the sensors. "Maybe it didn't travel," she said. "Maybe it was always connected to us." The professor stared at her, realizing he no longer understood what kind of mind he was dealing with. She walked out of the chamber, calm and certain, as the alien stepped aside to let her pass. "You can't predict what's coming," Zeltor said behind her. "No," she replied without turning. "But I can feel it." Later that night, Amelia stood alone on the observatory balcony, staring into the endless darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the signal waited, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. She whispered to herself, "You've been waiting for us, now we're ready." Behind her, Zeltor watched silently from the shadows. For the first time, he didn't see a primitive human. He saw a mind that warped between logic and wonder, a mind the universe itself might have been waiting for. The news spread across the academy like wildfire. Within hours, every student, scientist, and alien officer on Zorath Prime had heard about the human who had outsmarted the machines. They called her the Intuitive One, a being who could sense what even advanced computers could not predict. To some, Amelia Hayes was a mystery. To others, she was a threat. The Galactic Council soon sent for her, demanding answers. The chamber of the council was vast and cold, filled with representatives from dozens of alien civilizations. Holographic symbols floated above them, marking their ranks and worlds. At the center of the circle stood Professor Zeltor, representing the Zorath Academy, and beside him, Amelia Hayes, the lone human. The debate began. A tall being made of shimmering light spoke first. "We have reviewed the data. The probe reactivated under human presence. The probability of coincidence is minimal, but the implications are dangerous." Another counselor, a creature with translucent wings, hissed, "Humans were believed to be primitive. How can such limited biology perform what our technology cannot?" The chamber buzzed with disbelief. Amelia stood silently, her eyes calm but alert. Then Zeltor stepped forward. His voice was heavy with authority. "It is true. This human demonstrated something our science cannot explain. She predicted star patterns before our systems processed them. She located a lost signal using nothing but intuition." A murmur ran through the council. "Intuition," one elder repeated, "a word for ignorance disguised as luck." Amelia took a deep breath. "With respect," she said, her voice steady, "intuition is not ignorance. It's experience turned into feeling. When you've looked at the stars for generations, something inside begins to recognize their rhythm." The glowing counselor flickered in agitation. "Rhythm. We are not discussing music, human. We are discussing astrophysics." Amelia looked up at the massive display above her. The galaxy stretched wide and endless. "Maybe they are not so different," she said softly. "The universe has a rhythm too. You just have to listen long enough." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Some of the younger counselors looked intrigued, but the older ones seemed insulted. "Arrogant," one of them muttered. "Poetic nonsense." "Not nonsense," Zeltor said suddenly, surprising everyone. "I have studied her methods. There is no calculation, yet there is accuracy. No logic, yet there is order. It cannot be dismissed." Amelia turned to him in surprise. The same professor who had once humiliated her was now defending her. "You believe her?" one counselor demanded. Zeltor hesitated. "I believe there is something we don't understand. Something that might exist beyond our equations." The chamber erupted in voices, some shouting for investigation, others for containment. Finally, the Supreme Counselor raised a hand, and silence fell again. "If this human's ability is genuine," he said, "then we must test it properly. We will host a demonstration before the full council." "A demonstration?" Amelia asked. "Of what?" "Of knowledge," the counselor replied. "You will face our greatest astrophysicist. If you can outpredict his readings of the next stellar pulse, your claim will be acknowledged." Amelia nodded. "When?" "Tomorrow," the counselor said. "And be warned, failure will prove that humans are still what we thought they were." As she left the chamber, whispers followed her, some curious, others cruel. Back in her quarters, she sat near the viewing window, staring at the deep purple sky of Zorath Prime. "A demonstration," she murmured. "They think this is about pride." Behind her, Zeltor entered quietly. "For them, it is," he said. "But for you?" Amelia smiled faintly. "For me, it's about truth." Zeltor studied her face. "You are not afraid?" "Of being wrong?" she asked. "No. Fear never helped anyone find the stars." He looked at her for a long time. There was something different about the human, something even he, with all his intellect, couldn't name. "You don't realize," he said finally, "that tomorrow, every world in this system will be watching you." Amelia turned to him. "Then let them watch." The next day, the council hall was filled with delegates and observers. The air was heavy with tension. At the center stood a massive display showing a live feed of a distant neutron star, known for its unpredictable pulses. Across from Amelia stood her challenger, Dr. Varric, a tall alien with eyes like molten silver. He bowed slightly. "You rely on instinct," he said coldly. "I rely on data. Let us see which one the universe favors." The challenge began. The countdown clock started ticking as the star's next pulse approached. Dr. Varric typed rapidly, feeding data into his analyzer. Amelia, meanwhile, closed her eyes. She didn't touch a single device. The hall grew quiet. 30 seconds, someone whispered. 20. 10. Suddenly Amelia opened her eyes. "Now," she said. A heartbeat later, the neutron star erupted in a burst of light, exactly as she predicted. Gasps filled the chamber. Dr. Varric stared at his screen in shock. His analyzer had been 3 seconds late. "Impossible," he muttered. Amelia's expression didn't change. "It's not impossible," she said softly. "It's just something you haven't learned to feel yet." The Supreme Counselor rose slowly. She was correct, down to the millisecond. The hall erupted with noise again. Some cheered, others protested. But one thing was clear. The human had done what no one thought possible. Zeltor stepped beside her, pride showing in his usually cold eyes. "You've changed everything," he whispered. Amelia looked out at the stars above. "Not yet," she said quietly. "But soon." The galaxy never slept after that day. News of the humans' victory spread faster than light. Every planet, every outpost, every space academy across the known systems was whispering about the girl from Earth who had defeated the most advanced mind of the Zorath Empire. Some called her a prodigy. Some called her a danger. But Amelia Hayes didn't care about the names. She cared about the signal, the mysterious pulse that had moved closer after her connection with the ancient probe. Something inside her told her that it wasn't over. That night, the stars above Zorath Prime glowed brighter than usual. The observatory's glass dome shimmered under the reflection of distant galaxies. Amelia stood alone inside, gazing upward, her hands resting lightly on the console. Behind her, the doors opened with a faint hiss. Professor Zeltor entered quietly, his metallic scales dimmed to a soft silver, a rare color of calm. "You should be resting," he said. Amelia smiled without turning. "I can't. The signal hasn't stopped calling." Zeltor moved closer, studying the projection. "You still think it's trying to communicate?" "I know it is," she said softly. "Every few hours, the same pattern repeats, but each time, it shifts slightly. It's almost like it's learning." Zeltor frowned. "Learning what?" How to talk to us, Amelia whispered. For a long moment, they both stared at the hologram in silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, one of the faint lights in the display blinked. Once, twice, then 3 times. Amelia's breath caught. There. Did you see that? Zeltor nodded slowly. It's not random, he said. That pattern is mathematical, but the sequence is human. Fibonacci, reversed. Amelia's heart began to race. It's using our code. The hologram flickered again, and suddenly, lines of light began connecting the stars one by one, forming strange geometric shapes. Zeltor's eyes widened. That's a constellation chart. No, Amelia said quietly, her voice trembling. It's a message. The shapes aligned slowly until they formed an unmistakable outline, a spiral galaxy. But not just any galaxy. The Milky Way. Her home. Amelia felt tears sting her eyes. It's pointing to Earth. Zeltor stared in disbelief. That's impossible. The signal originates from the other side of the known universe. Nothing could travel that far. Amelia shook her head. It's not traveling. It's remembering. Remembering, he repeated. Yes, she said. It's something we built. Long before your kind ever left your world. Maybe it's been waiting for us to come back. The professor fell silent, struggling to process what he was hearing. For the first time, logic felt small. Why now? He asked softly. Amelia looked at the glowing galaxy before them. Because we finally looked in the right direction. The room was silent except for the faint hum of machinery. Then the hologram pulsed again, brighter this time, and a wave of static swept through the observatory. The machines crackled and hissed, the air vibrating with strange energy. A voice emerged, not clear, but faint, distant, and echoing, like a memory. Human connection restored, Amelia gasped. It's speaking. Zeltor took a step back. That's impossible. Not impossible, she whispered. Human. The lights around them dimmed, leaving only the glowing spiral of the Milky Way on the screen. The voice spoke again, clearer this time. Awaiting, return, mission incomplete. Amelia felt her knees weaken. Mission, she repeated. What mission? The hologram zoomed in automatically, focusing on a single point within the Milky Way, an unmarked region between 2 stars. Zeltor turned to Amelia. Do you know that location? She nodded slowly. It's close to the Oort region of our solar system, beyond Pluto, where the probes vanished. The professor's voice was hushed. You mean this probe, the one that reactivated, was one of yours? Not just one, Amelia said. Maybe they all were. For a moment, the idea hung in the air, unreal and terrifying. The aliens had always believed they were the first explorers, the first to chart the universe. But what if humanity had done it ages ago, and simply been forgotten? We have to go there, Amelia said suddenly. We? Zeltor asked. You mean, together? She looked at him firmly. You wanted proof of what humans can do. This is it. Help me reach that signal's origin. Zeltor hesitated. His life had been devoted to logic, structure, order. But now, standing beside this strange, fearless human, he felt something unfamiliar, a pull of curiosity mixed with awe. You realize, he said slowly, that if what you're saying is true, it will rewrite everything we know about civilization itself. Amelia smiled faintly. Then it's time the universe learned who we really are. The professor stared at her for a long time, then nodded. I'll speak to the council. They won't approve easily. They don't have to, Amelia said. The stars already have. Hours later, the night grew quiet again. Amelia remained alone in the observatory, watching the faint pulse blink in rhythm across the galaxy projection. Every flash seemed to whisper to her, calling from across time and distance. Awaiting, return. She touched the glass and whispered back, We're coming. Outside, far beyond Zorath Prime, the stars shifted almost imperceptibly, as if something ancient and unseen had heard her promise. The council chamber was filled with tension and disbelief. No one wanted to approve a mission based on a human's feeling. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The signal was real, and its origin pointed to the far reaches of space near the old human system. Professor Zeltor stood before the council with Amelia by his side. "We have studied the readings," he said. "The signal is consistent, intelligent, and growing stronger. If we ignore it, we risk missing the greatest discovery in history." The Supreme Councilor's cold eyes fixed on Amelia. "You believe this is a human creation?" Amelia nodded. "Yes, and I believe it's calling us home." The chamber fell silent. After several long minutes, the counselor spoke. "Very well. You will lead an expedition beyond the border. But understand this. If you fail, the blame is yours alone." Amelia didn't flinch. "Then I'll make sure we don't fail." Preparations began immediately. The research ship Zephyr was chosen for the mission, a vessel built for long-distance travel through unstable regions of space. Its curved metallic hull shimmered with light as engineers worked tirelessly to modify it for deep space exploration. The launch drew massive attention. News channels across the galaxy streamed the event live. Some saw it as a historic collaboration between human and alien intelligence. Others saw it as reckless curiosity. But Amelia didn't care what they thought. She felt something deep inside, a pull that was both terrifying and beautiful, as if destiny itself waited beyond the stars. When the day came, Zeltor met her at the docking bay. "You understand," he said quietly, "we may not retain." "Then we'll make sure it's worth the trip," she replied with a small smile. They boarded the Zephyr, joined by a small crew of alien scientists and navigators. As the engines roared to life, Amelia looked out the viewport one last time at Zorath Prime. "Ready?" she asked. Zeltor nodded. "Let's follow your signal." The Zephyr lifted into the darkness, its engines glowing a deep blue as it broke through the planet's atmosphere. Within hours, the ship had left known space behind. Stars streaked past like silver rain. For a time, everything was calm. Then the signal returned, stronger, faster, pulsing in perfect rhythm with Amelia's heartbeat. She stood near the console, her eyes focused. "It's guiding us," she whispered. Zeltor looked uneasy. "Are you sure? It could be pulling us into danger." "Maybe," she said. "But sometimes, danger is where the truth hides." The signal led them through uncharted space, past dying stars and ancient ruins of forgotten civilizations. The crew grew tense as their instrument began to fail, distorted by strange gravitational waves. Finally, after days of travel, the pulse became blindingly bright. "We're here," Amelia said softly. Outside the window stretched a vast field of cosmic dust and fractured light. At the center floated something enormous, half machine, half stone, a structure older than anything they had ever seen. "What is that?" Zeltor whispered. Amelia stared in awe. "It's human," she said. "Or it used to be." The scanners confirmed traces of human alloy, carbon-based materials, and design signatures matching early human probes. But this wasn't a single probe. It was thousands of them, connected together like pieces of a giant web. "They merged," Amelia said. "All the lost probes, they found each other." As the Zephyr moved closer, the structure stayed, lights flickering across its surface. A low hum filled the air. The signal they had been following became a voice again. "Welcome back, Origin confirmed." Zeltor's eyes widened. "It's alive." "No," Amelia said. "It's aware." The holographic screen lit up with old Earth languages, fragments of human code, mixed with something alien. "It's been learning," Amelia whispered. "Learning from everything it touched." The voice spoke again, clearer now. "Humanity's journey incomplete. Awaiting guidance." Amelia's hands trembled. "It needs direction. It's been waiting for someone to finish what it started." "Then tell it," Zeltor said softly. "Tell it what to do." Amelia closed her eyes. Memories flooded her mind. The stories of human exploration, of wonder and failure, of curiosity that never died. When she opened her eyes, she looked straight at the glowing machine. "You were made to explore," she said. "Not for one world, but for all. Share what you've learned. Unite every species that dares to look at the stars. That's our purpose. That's what it means to be human." The lights pulsed in response. Then the entire structure began to shift, unfolding like the petals of a cosmic flower. Energy waves rippled outward, lighting up the galaxy around them. Every scanner on the Zephyr went wild. "It's transmitting," Zeltor shouted. "To every system." Amelia smiled through tears. Then it's awake. The voice spake one last time, softer now, almost like a whisper meant only for her. Message received, humanity remembered. Then the light faded, leaving only silence and starlight. Zeltor turned to her. You just changed the universe, he said. Amelia looked out the viewport, her reflection blending with the stars. No, she said quietly. We reminded it who we were. The journey home was quiet. The crew didn't speak much. There were no words for what they had seen. When the Zephyr finally returned to Zoraf Prime, the entire planet watched in stunned silence. The council stood speechless as they saw the data, the human signal, the structure, the proof. Zeltor stepped forward and said, We have witnessed what curiosity can create, and we have learned that humanity, though small, carries something greater than logic. They carry the spark that keeps the universe alive. The crowd erupted in applause. But Amelia didn't stay for celebration. That night, she stood alone beneath the stars once again, looking toward the direction of Earth. Somewhere, out there, humanity's first message still traveled, stronger than ever. She smiled and whispered, We finally found our place among the stars. The wind was silent, but the universe seemed to listen, and for the first time in 1,000,000 years, it whispered back,